So welcome back. As you take your seats, let me take the time to bring back Ashish Khan on stage. Ashish is the conference chair. Ashish spent a lot of time designing the program, reaching out to people, coming up with a cohesive story around what we would be talking about today. I hope this will spark a lot of new conversations. So Ashish will now come over and introduce the panel.
Thank you, Swapnil. I think it was 2022 BC, which is, of course, before ChatGPT, BC. I co-founded a company in the optical networking space. And every board meeting, my VCs used to harass me, or harass all of us. You know that Rocket is hiring 300 people in 3 months. What the hell you are doing? Those days are gone. Imagine a world where 10 people powered by AI can build a company with a $1 billion valuation and $100 million ARR. And that is not the future, it's happening now. And to guide us through this incredible story of scale reimagined, I have the pleasure of introducing today Sudip Chakrabarti from Pruven Capital, general partner at Pruven Capital. Sudip has been at the forefront of backing the companies that are rewriting these rules, and today he will guide us into the agentic AI's 10, 100, 1,000 era. Sudip is a general partner, I told you, at Pruven Capital, where he invests in enterprise, cloud, and infrastructure technologies. He's a former founder and engineer. He has backed standout companies such as Temporal, Exabeam, Heptio, Spotnana, Penpot, and served as a board observer of some of the household names today, Databricks, Samsara, DigitalOcean, and Mesosphere. Sudip is, he graduated from the same IIT Kharagpur, alumnus of IIT Kharagpur. He got his PhD in computer engineering from Georgia Tech and an MBA from Wharton School. Please welcome Sudip Chakrabarti of Pruven Capital. Thank you.
Just to set the record straight, we VCs never harass founders. We just politely encourage and have robust discussions. But thank you so much for everyone. Just want to welcome our speakers, Harjot, Gill, CEO of CodeRabbit, come on Harjot, and Henry Shi, co-founder of Super.com and founder of Lean AI Leaderboard. Is the mic on? Good? All right. I'll take this one. You guys take the next two.
I'll just.
All right. So the topic today is how to build lean AI native companies. And we're really fortunate that both Harjot and Henry have been founders. Harjot is still running one of those companies very successfully. So I want to give both of you a quick minute to introduce yourself, your company, what you guys do. Maybe Harjot, you want to get started with?
Hi, thanks for having me here. So I'm co-founder CEO of CodeRabbit, which is a startup that uses generative AI to do code reviews, essentially looking at code quality, code security for users which are on Git platforms like GitHub, GitLab, and so on. The company is like a couple of years old. We are roughly now Series B. We announced like a round of funding last week and have around 8,000 paying organizations, 150,000 developers who use the product, love the product, and so on. This is my third startup, also like a very different journey this time around.
I think what's Harjot has been too modest to say, this company has scaled from $1 million in revenue last year in December to 15 in ARR right now.
That's right. That's
so
right.
Less than 12 months, what a journey you have had, right?
Exactly, yeah, very nonlinear growth.
Very nonlinear, especially compared to your previous
compared to the last two, yeah.
And then Henry, you want to quickly introduce yourself, please?
Sure. Hey, everybody. I'm Henry. I did not go to IIT, but I did go to Georgia Tech. So I started a company called Super.com, which is a consumer commerce fintech company. 2016, grew that company to 250 people, over 200 million revenue a year, profitable, and then I sort of stepped back to the board at the end of last year. So I've been spending a lot of time now helping founders and really sort of exploring this new type of company building using lean AI native methodologies and tracking these incredible companies going from 0 to 10, 20, 50, 100 million ARR with very few people in a very short amount of time. So happy to be here and share what I've learned.
So I want to ask you this, Henry. So in case you haven't seen it already, Henry is probably the most prolific blogger on this topic. So he runs a leaderboard called Lean AI Native Leaderboard, where he's tracking all the companies that are scaling really rapidly in an AI native way. What made you start tracking those companies?
Yeah, that's a good question. So earlier this year, I think around February or March, if you've been tracking Twitter, people have been saying, oh, check out Mercor, check out Cursor, check out Midjourney. They're going to 0 to 100 million revenue with 20 people, right? And that was a fascinating topic because one, we started our company, and for us to get to hundreds of millions of revenue, we had to hire tons of people and scale with the company. But now with AI, you can suddenly build these amazing, fast-growing companies with very few people. And I think every founder, or most repeat founders know, the most fun journey of a startup is the sub-50 stage when everyone's super aligned and you're mission-driven and you can just be nimble and get stuff done. So then the thinking is, how do you build companies in this new AI native way? And there's got to be more companies than just a handful of Mercor, Cursor, Midjourney. So I did a bunch of research and tracked it. And in fact, there were a lot more companies who were building really lean, hyper-growing startups with very few people. So I built this leaderboard and gamified it a little bit and launched it. And it kind of just took off, had millions of impressions across social. And now it's kind of this interesting, fun topic that I track and sort of help highlight founder stories as well.
Any particular markets or spaces where you see these companies are getting built versus others?
Yeah, right now we see a lot of success in consumer, prosumer, PLG, media, right? And I think it's because those companies you can scale very quickly. You find a channel that works, and you can just accelerate that and figure out the LTV to CAC and accelerate. A lot of these are also enabled by new markets being created, like Lovable, like Replit, like this new code gen market. So I think we're seeing a lot of success there. I think we'll see more B2B SaaS enterprise companies once the AI agents and AI sales get solved. So I think we'll see more of that. But right now, for enterprise companies, I think you still have to throw some account managers, account executives at the problem.
So Harjot, you are building one of those, right? I mean, I'm guessing a lot of your customers are B2B companies, maybe starting as an individual user. In the past, you have built two companies, both in enterprise infra. What is it that you're doing differently this time that the company is scaling so rapidly versus, Flux Ninja or Netsil?
Yeah, I think it's just a moment in time where we are seeing rapid value getting unlocked with these new AI models. And interestingly, like code generation market has been one of the strongest product market fit areas for generative AI, including like if you see how Anthropic and OpenAI, they are like also investing very heavily into Cloud Code and Codex products and so on. Like it's kind of like unfortunate in many ways because generative AI had a lot of promise, but it's not like unlocking a lot of value in other areas as it's in terms of token generation. Like Cursor is the biggest success, for instance, right? And going back to the point, I think again that's also like a moment in point thing where we've seen like smaller teams unlock a lot of value by just applying the models in a very simple way. Basically building wrappers initially, right? And the bar is going to get higher and higher as you go to the next second generation, third generation of AI startups. And that's where like we see like when I look at AI native startups, like ours is one of them, like the core product would not exist without AI. Right? But at the same time, like we still have to do a lot of traditional engineering. Like you have to still have a sales team, and Cursor isn't a 20-person company anymore. They are hundreds of people. Like we are competing with them on hiring sales. They're throwing fancy dinners to hire top-tier sales talent. They have hundreds of people now. Actually, they've acquired teams doing enterprise software engineering, bringing their product to more traditional sectors, right? So yeah, so initial value got unlocked by like smaller teams, like young, fast teams, and a lot of the VCs were also biased, I would say, to fund a lot of these like 20-year-olds, 22-year-olds. In fact, like the people who had a lot of experience were kind of at a disadvantage, right? So this was like, I guess, a moment in time kind of a thing. That's how I feel about it. Like, but they're like still, it's like a gold rush. I believe there are many other areas where rapid value still remains to be unlocked. So we'll see a few more of these startups, small, lean teams getting big very quickly. Yeah.
And Henry, like you are tracking a number of these companies. Any particular set of skills that you see people bringing to the table as founders, early engineers to these kind of companies?
Yeah, I think a lot of these founders are building completely the new AI native way, right? So they're starting companies after Gen AI, and their first instinct is to solve problems, is to how do we automate this? How do we leverage AI? Not how do we throw more bodies at the problem. Before, code used to be expensive, right? So you really want to preserve your engineers' time, and if you had to manually patch a process, you would do that. But now code has become cheap. So what is that? What is the inverse of that, and how do you think automation first? How do you think AI native first instead of hiring people or throwing bodies at the problem?
Maybe let me ask you one thing, Harjot, like something you said earlier. Everyone has access to the models, right? How do you guys think about defensive moat in that case?
Yeah, the models are just like infrastructure. Like initially when GPT-4 came out, like it seemed like OpenAI would be mostly like Intel, like they will keep running ahead with each generation of models while others will struggle to keep up, right? So that didn't happen. Like very quickly, people caught up with GPT-4 level quality. Now the models are commoditized, and it's not just one vendor. Like you can go to Anthropic, Gemini, they're like pretty much in the same range of performance, right? Price to performance ratio, right? The value was always going to be in the apps. I mean, that was the whole idea of CodeRabbit. Like we kind of like the history kind of repeats itself. Like just like the value was in the software back when the PCs came out. Like same things happening here. Like so a lot of the AI products that are becoming super successful, like they are the ones which are doing really good context engineering, building the right UX. Like because now you're talking about a brand new interfaces where you're like interacting with these models, and these workflows did not exist 3 years back, 44 years back, right? So yeah, I mean, in a way, like it's like serverless. Like everyone has access to same infrastructure, but someone's building Netflix or Amazon Prime Video, but the difference is going to be in the products, right? Yeah. So the other thing is like the model labs. I mean, this is also very interesting, right? So the model labs also need apps to drive their model development.
Sure.
And no wonder they're also going to be entering the app business more and more.
And then I'm curious, like going back to you, Henry, like do you see a particular technical debt that all these companies are accumulating given how they are doing things? Like, are you looking out for that as you're looking at these companies?
Yeah, tech debt is an interesting topic now because you can produce code so easily that I think a lot of these companies, it's not even debt, it's just we built something brand new from scratch. Right, like when a new model capability launches, like Replit, for example, they rewrote their entire sort of 6-year history into this new agentic form. So was the old code dead, or is it just sort of obsolete because you have much better models and much better capabilities? So I think tech debt itself is one of those legacy concepts where, because it's so easy to produce code, it's easier to just think automation first, code first, and you just create this new paradigm and not worry about the debt because that may not even be relevant in a year from now.
I want to kind of bring up the topic of how do you hire for this kind of companies, right? You both have built companies, you're in the middle of building one. AI skills is not something everyone is coming up with. It's so new, right? How are you thinking of it, Harjot, like when you are looking at hiring engineers, go-to-market people? Like what are you looking for? What qualities are you looking for?
And yeah, I mean, some of these qualities are like how kind of people like of good fit for early startups, like curiosity, all those things hold true. But especially like hiring people who can actually leverage these AI systems, that's been a challenge. Like your traditional education, your degrees are not kind of like a reflection of how you could be successful in this kind of a setting, right? We have seen some people, even in our organization, it's lopsided. Like some people leverage AI like 10x more than other people. You will see their cursor usage bill, which is like dynamic pricing now. So they are spending like hundreds of dollars a month, whereas some people are like barely touching AI, right? So that's been like one of the, like as we are like evolving and growing the team, like one of the big factors has been like how effectively these people are able to leverage these models, understand their training distribution, and use them for the things these models are good at, right? And this is like across all the segments, like engineering, marketing, and even sales. Like when we look at sales, like our companies like kind of hybrid sales motion, like there's a velocity product-led growth motion, which is like very effective. Most of our revenue comes from that whole PLG push. But at the same time, we are now hiring a lot of enterprise sales people as well, right? Where like AI helps to some extent, but it's still about like being on the ground, relationship, the whole POC process, and the security questionnaires, like that doesn't go away, right?
Yeah, and given the assumption here, or at least the outcome is your employees are a lot more productive with AI products. Are you changing the compensation model?
Not really. Even the baseline, like what you expect, like you're not talking about 2% growth a month anymore. You're talking about 15, 20% growth now.
15, 20% growth month over month.
Yeah, that's kind of the growth we are seeing, right? So a lot of people who are coming from like even previous startups, like it's again like it's a shock for them, like to just see the kind of growth we are seeing. So it takes a while to reset, like kind of strategies you want to invest in. Like we have hired people in the past who were like wanted to do webinars, but that's too slow in this market. Like you're going in, like what's been effective for us is like this mass market campaigns, like all these like influencers and all that, like because there's a pull in the market. So you have to like completely recalibrate for the kind of growth we are seeing.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and that's how you compensate. Like you're not, your KPIs are not like 2 to 5% growth a month. You're talking about at least 20% growth.
Henry, like when you were building super.com, right? I believe a lot of the customer support you guys had automated. I was reading somewhere, right? How did you guys maintain the quality when you're automating all of this? Like what was the thesis behind it?
Yeah, so we have over 50 million total users.
50 million total users.
Yeah, because it's a B2C app, right? So tons of users. And we have multiple call centers overseas, probably hundreds of people, different shifts, 24/7 supporting customers. It's a whole operational process. And AI has been really helpful because and you asked a question about I think quality, right? So I think AI was able to deflect, I think, over close to half of our tickets and inbound. But the question about quality is interesting because the sort of, I think, unspoken secret in the industry is that the bar is not very high, right? Where you have these layers and structures of people, there's very high turnover in these call centers, and it's not always the highest quality of motivated employees working. So I would historically get a lot of complaints about from customers who are escalating through the chain to me about some mistake or issue that the customer service agent did. And AI, though not perfect, is way faster, way more responsive. It can synthesize a lot more knowledge and keep up to date with the latest kind of product features and use cases. So in some sense, it's not perfect, but the bar is also not that high, especially if you had to wait on hold for 10 minutes to get to somebody who maybe was unmotivated or just started a new shift. So yeah, it's definitely been in some ways quality enhancing.
Gotcha. Harjot, given you had started 2 companies before, and now this one is rapidly scaling, was there something you had to unlearn from your previous founder experiences?
Actually, a lot.
Tell us more.
Yeah, I mean, like when I started my first company, it was like 2014, 15, very different time, like cloud native, Kubernetes containers were taking off.
That was an application observability.
Yes, so NetSil was my first startup, which was acquired by Nutanix in 2018.
Right.
But the startup, you remember, like came out of the university research. So very different, like go-to-market, like solution looking for a problem, and then how you go to market was very content-driven, blog posts. Like we were on like first page of Hacker News a few times. Like so very different go-to-market, and over here like it's a dev tooling space. First of all, the space is very different.
Sure.
Secondly, there's the whole appetite for AI is like massive, right? Especially in the coding space right now. So yeah, in terms of like unlearning, like first of all, like how you build products is very different. Like enterprise products, NetSil like took a long time to build, whereas with AI, you can go and build and launch something in 3 months, and you're constantly rebuilding. That's the other part of it. Like as the models improve, as the reasoning models came out, even GPT-5 came out, you have to stay at the cutting edge, but that also means you have to go and rebuild a lot of the things that you built for like GPT-4 and the previous models, right? And the same thing is like go-to-market wise. Like, I mean, as I said, like the strategy here has been very consumer style go-to-market strategy, right? So we are like doing things we had not done in the past, like ads. Like we have this 101 ads now. Like a lot of people mentioned they saw our ad on while driving to SF. We have been doing a lot of like social media campaigns, Twitter campaigns, TikTok videos. We did a recent short film like mockumentary which went viral. Yeah, so you have to like be innovative, like on how, especially in this space. Yeah, so
the go-to-market is very different.
Go-to-market is very different, but still we have now building the enterprise sales teams. We didn't like prioritize that earlier. My first startup was like a little bit top-down push. This one's been like very bottom up. Yeah.
And also the other thing you said was you're constantly rebuilding the product, which wasn't the case with your previous.
Yeah, when you're like building distributed systems, databases, your foundations are still there, like even for many, many years, right? You have much more longevity with whatever you're building. With AI, especially, like the abstractions are not very like clear. Like if you are investing very early in building the abstractions, they're almost always going to go wrong. Like it will take a while before, like let's say Kubernetes in this space appears. Right now, everyone's figuring out what's the best way to work with these models, and how do you switch between models, and how do you work with the capacity constraints. Like GPT-5 had a lot of issues around latency. You have to like also traffic engineer the systems in a different way, and so on.
Henry, back to you. Like, what do you think are some of the biggest risks for facing these AI native startups and founders?
For the founders?
Yeah. Founders building in this space, in a very AI native way, like Harjot is.
Yeah, well, I think I have the saying, which is it's never been easier to go from 0 to 10, 20, even 30, 50 million. But it's also never been more unclear who's going to go from 10, 20 to 100 and beyond, right? And I think you saw the case with Jasper, very quick to 100 and then kind of down and sideways. And even for Cursor, who knows where it's going to end up? It's like margin negative and selling tokens at a discount. So it is kind of interesting to see who's going to survive long term and get to that escape velocity. But it's never been easier to go from 0 to 10, 20, 50 million ARR. And I think it's a great opportunity for founders. The other thing I think for founders to look out for, it is very noisy, very competitive, very crowded. Again, it's easier than ever to build something. So it's not just about the product itself or the company, but the go-to-market, distribution, the market of it. I think this has been a case like this for a long time in consumer, but I think we're going to see that in B2B as well. Now that it's so easy to build any tool, any SaaS tool, any systems tool, that it's all going to be about distribution.
I want to shift gears to fundraising. And you just had a very successful raise. Raised 60 million, Series B, 550 valuation, which is pretty amazing, but also deserving given the traction. Given your previous fundraising conversations with your previous two companies, did it feel different now? Are the investors looking at things very differently? Like, what was your experience?
Definitely, it's different in many, many ways, right? And both rounds were also very different. Like when we did this, we didn't do the seed round. We directly went Series A because we went from 0 to 1 million pretty quickly, right? And when we did like last year, the bigger question was, where's the value? Are the models going to catch up? Is it just a wrapper? Then we had to explain like how hard it is to engineer systems on the top, right? You're still like building all this context in like code graphs and bunch of stuff, right? So that was a concern the first time around. The second time around, like we have all the metrics and all, like amazing growth. Then the concern usually is like, again, like because only use case that's working is coding, unfortunately. So this means Anthropic's attacking this space, OpenAI is attacking this space. What if they go and crush you guys, right? And so on. Cursor is also like going to be coming this space. So that, hyperscalers moving and so on. So those were the concerns. The other concern has been like also like it's a very different age. I'm running the company now. So when I was doing my first startup, like we were like PhD dropout. Right, so now like there's general trend in like a bias towards funding younger teams. So we're like, this middle-aged founder like doing this cool startup, so kind of an exception. But yeah, I mean, so those were some of the things that we did run into. But overall, like our fundraising was done within a week. Like the day we said we are on fundraise, we actually got a term sheet, right? But yeah.
And in terms of the valuation, I mean, obviously you guys got a like I said, very well-deserved valuation. Was there like, how are investors thinking about, okay, if I'm paying X $1 million valuation today, what is the exit they are kind of planning for? Is it like an acqui-hire style, like we have seen, or is it more IPO?
This is again like an inflection point that we are witnessing in the history, like which happens once every like decade or something. It's like probably as big as internet in many ways. Like my first startup was during the cloud, like microservices taking off. That was another inflection point, but it was much smaller than this one. And so massive value is getting created for sure. Now we are looking at an opportunity where you could build the next standalone, like or the next Atlassian or the next Datadog in the space. So yeah, so we are going towards building a standalone company.
Gotcha.
Pretty much.
I know we're almost out of time. And I want to just do a quick lightning round and maybe take a couple of questions from the audience if we have time. So I'll ask really quick 3 questions, short answers. One AI tool you cannot live without. Henry, go first.
Ooh, probably voice to text, like WhisperFlow, Super Whisper, one of those tools, just makes me type so much faster and go through my inbox, my emails, my memos, everything.
Helps you text while driving, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll say CodeRabbit, of course. Right? That's why we built it.
Of course. That is cheating.
Yeah.
Biggest mistakes you have seen founders make when they are implementing, when they're building AI native companies?
Biggest mistake? Ooh. Probably just not focusing on distribution. Just focusing too much on the product, on building something amazing, but not thinking about how to go to market, how to scale, how to get enhance customers, what are the avenues and channels. It's just so competitive and noisy, and is lovable really that much better than Bolt or Base 44 or any of the other tools, or Replit or Vercel V0, and it's really kind of the go-to-market distribution.
Distribution mindshare. Harjot?
Yeah, I mean, I've seen Cursor make one mistake, like going super deep into one use case like tab completion, while Cloud Code blindsided them in a very adjacent space right away, almost like Yahoo versus Google movement, right?
Sure.
The same thing, like I think, like how do you go and apply AI quickly to unlock value? That's a trick here. It's not like the traditional startups where you're going deep in one direction. It's about where you can go and land grab quickly.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Best piece of advice you have gotten while scaling your company?
For me, I think it's just probably just really being thoughtful about how you hire and how you bring on executives. And this is advice I've gotten and received from many founders who are much more successful than I am. But the biggest mistake was hiring for executives who are far too ahead for your company. The ideal sweet spot should be an executive that's 1 or 2 stages ahead. So if you're a Series A, hiring like a B or C executive, not like a Fortune 500. And so kind of bridging that gap and having people who can be hands-on but still strategic and have wide operating range has been very effective for us.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I mean, I would say hiring is a bigger one. Like how, like it's about like okay, at one point you want to like throw bodies at the problem, but at the same time you want to maintain a quality bar, the culture, especially when you're like scaling kind of like the way we are scaling. And again, like looking for people like who have been founders or failed founders. Those are usually more successful, who can like roll up the sleeves, like while also like leading in the trenches.
So people with founder DNA.
Yeah, founder DNA. Like all our VPs have either done startups or been in early startups.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Do you have time for?
For
okay.
all of you? So we'll start with the next session. Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.